She predicted the duelist strike seconds before his muscles moved. The system flagged her as nonlinear consciousness. Part 1. Wu had never won anything in her life. Not a school prize, not a card game, not even a free coffee from those promotional scratch cards. So when the lottery notification pinged on her data pad saying she'd won tickets to the Grand Duel Championship, she thought it was a scam. But it wasn't. 3 weeks later, she stood in the massive Galactic Arena station, her mouth hanging open like a fool. The station orbited in neutral space, a gleaming ring of metal and light that housed the galaxy's most famous fighting arena. Ships from 100 worlds docked at its ports. Wu had seen aliens before. You couldn't haul freight across 6 systems without meeting a few, but never this many in one place, with clicking mandibles, floating gas entities that shimmered like heat waves, tall, elegant beings with too many joints in their limbs. She felt very small and very human. The arena itself held 50,000 seats arranged in a steep bowl around the central fighting platform. Wu's ticket put her in the mid-level section, close enough to see but far enough to feel safe. The seats were filling up fast. She squeezed past a family of 4-armed, mumbling apologies and found her spot. The lights dimmed. The crowd's noise dropped to whispers. A holographic announcer appeared above the arena floor, speaking in the common tongue that translator implants turned into every language at once. Honored guests, welcome to the 347th Grand Duel Championship. The crowd roared. Wu clapped politely. Today's opening ceremony features a legendary match. The unbreakable champion of the warrior clans will face the Blade Master. 2 platforms rose from the arena floor. On one stood massive, muscled, with 4 arms that ended in hands the size of dinner plates. His skin was deep red, marked with white scars that probably each had a story. He wore minimal armor, just enough to be legal. In 2 of his hands he held curved blades that caught the light. On the other platform stood tall and thin, with skin like polished blue stone. She held a single sword that seemed too long for any human to wield. Her movements were precise, economical. Wu leaned forward. She'd watched fight videos before, late at night in her ship's cabin when the freight routes got boring. But this was different. This was real. The referee, a floating drone, announced the rules. Standard duration match. First to 3 strikes or surrender wins. Lethal force prohibited. The drone's sensors would monitor everything. Begin. Both fighters moved to the center of the platform. They circled each other slowly. 4 arms moved in a pattern that looked almost like a dance. It stayed perfectly still, her sword held in a guard position. The crowd held its breath. Then something strange happened to Wu. The world seemed to slow down, or maybe speed up. She couldn't tell which. Her vision got sharper, clearer, like someone had adjusted the focus on a camera. She could see every muscle in his arms, every tiny shift in his weight. And then she saw it. Not with her eyes exactly. It was more like knowing, like remembering something that hadn't happened yet. Was going to strike. Not just any strike. A reverse spiral attack coming from his left side, blade angled at 43 degrees, aimed at his right shoulder. The words came out of Wu's mouth before she could stop them. Reverse spiral, left flank 43 degrees. She said it quietly, just a whisper, but the sitting next to her turned to look. 3 seconds passed. Exploded into motion. His body twisted, left arm sweeping in a spiral pattern, blade flashing toward his right shoulder at exactly 43 degrees. Barely blocked it in time. The crowd gasped and cheered, but Wu couldn't hear them. Her heart pounded in her chest. What was that? How did she know? Lucky guess, she told herself. Just a lucky guess. But then it happened again. Would counterattack. High thrust, aimed its chest, but it was a feint. The real attack would come low at his left knee. Feint high, strike low left, Wu whispered. The next to her leaned closer, his 4 eyes narrowing. 5 seconds later, exactly as Wu had known, is thrust high, moved to block, but is dropped low at the last instant, her blade sweeping toward his left knee. Jumped back, barely avoiding the strike. "How did you?" the started to say. But Wu wasn't listening. She couldn't stop. The visions kept coming. Every move, every strike, every block, she saw them all before they happened. Not possibilities, certainties. The future unfolding in her mind like a video she'd already watched. Overhead double strike, cross pattern. Defensive rotation clockwise. Jump back 3 meters, blade throw from upper right hand. Each prediction came true, exactly, perfectly. And then the alarm started. Red lights flashed around the arena. A high-pitched tone made everyone cover their ears. The fight stopped instantly. Both ends froze, looking up in confusion. "Attention," a mechanical voice boomed. "Anomalous neural activity DETCTED. Section Mid-47, Seat 23B Security PROTOCOLS engaged." Wu's seat, her seat was 23B. She looked up and saw them, 3 security drones, sleek and black, dropping from the ceiling toward her. Their scanners painted her with red targeting light. "No, wait," she said, standing up. "I didn't do anything." "Remain seated," the nearest drone commanded. "You have been flagged for illegal neural enhancement. Galactic Arena REGULATIONS prohibit precognitive technology." "I don't have any technology," Wu's voice cracked. "I'm just a freight pilot. I don't even have a combat implant." But the drones didn't care. They surrounded her, their weapons not pointed at her but ready. The crowd pulled away, leaving her in a circle of empty seats. Thousands of eyes stared at her. "Please come with us," one drone said, its voice slightly less mechanical. "Refusal will result in forced compliance." Wu's legs felt weak. She wanted to run, but where would she go? This was a space station. There was nowhere to run to. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay, I'll come." The drones escorted her out of the arena. The crowd whispered and pointed. She kept her head down, her face burning with shame and fear. What was happening? What had she done? They took her through white corridors that smelled like disinfectant and recycled air. Other people pressed against the walls to let them pass. Arena staff, security officers, aliens she couldn't identify. All of them stared. Finally, they reached a medical facility. The doors hissed open. Inside, a human woman in a white coat waited. She was older than Wu, maybe 40, with kind eyes and tired lines around her mouth. "I'm doctor," the woman said gently. You're not under arrest, Wu, but we need to understand what just happened." "I don't understand it either," Wu said. Her voice sounded small. Doctor guided her to a medical chair. "We're going to run some scans. They won't hurt. We just need to see what's going on in your brain. Is that okay?" Wu nodded. What choice did she have? The scans took 20 minutes. Wu sat perfectly still while machines hummed and clicked around her head. Doctor watched monitors, her expression growing more and more confused. When it was done, Doctor stepped back. She looked at Wu for a long moment. "What?" Wu asked. "What's wrong with me?" Doctor turned one of the monitors so Wu could see. It showed a 3D image of a brain, her brain, with colors and patterns that meant nothing to Wu. "Your neural activity is..." Doctor paused, searching for words. "It's impossible. Your synapses are firing in patterns that move backward through time, not by much microseconds, but backward." "I don't understand." "Neither do I," Doctor pointed at the screen. "You're not reading body language. You're not guessing. You're perceiving events before they occur. Your consciousness is experiencing time non-sequentially." A new voice interrupted them, cold and sharp. "Then she is a threat." A hologram appeared in the room, a creature with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Its title appeared below the image: Administrator, Station Command. "The Galactic Council has strict laws regarding precognitive beings," said. They are classified as security risks. The subject must be detained and transported to a quarantine facility. Wait, Wu stood up from the chair. A quarantine facility? I haven't done anything wrong. The law is clear, replied. Your ability makes you unpredictable, dangerous. Doctor stepped between Wu and the hologram. She's not dangerous, she's scared. Give me time to study this properly. Security will arrive in 5 minutes to transfer the subject. The hologram vanished. Wu sank back into the chair. Quarantine. That meant exile. Some distant world where they sent people who were too dangerous or too different. She'd heard stories about those places. No one came back from them. I'm sorry, Doctor said softly. I'll try to help you, I promise. But Wu barely heard her. She stared at her own hands, wondering what she'd done to deserve this. 3 months ago, her ship had passed through some kind of stellar phenomenon, a cloud of strange energy that made all her instruments go crazy for about 10 minutes. Nothing had seemed wrong afterward, just another weird thing that happened in space. Had that changed her, broken something in her brain? The door opened. 2 security officers in armor entered. But before they could reach Wu, the door opened again. Someone else walked in, someone big. The duelist, still wearing his fighting gear, blades sheathed. Everyone stopped. I invoke champion's right, said, his voice like gravel. I wish to speak with this human, alone. She predicted the duelist's strike seconds before his muscles moved. The system flagged her as nonlinear consciousness. Part 2. For 48 hours, Wu lived in a medical room that looked more like a cell. White walls, 1 bed, a toilet behind a screen, and cameras watching her every move. They brought her meals 3 times a day, human food at least, though it tasted like paste. Doctor visited twice to run more tests. Each time, the results made less sense than before. Your brain shouldn't be doing this, Doctor said during the second visit, staring at her data pad. The temporal displacement in your neural firing, it violates causality. Effect before cause, it's impossible. But I'm doing it, Wu said. She sat on the edge of the bed, her arms wrapped around herself. So it's not impossible. Doctor looked up at her. No, I suppose it's not. The door opened. Administrator's hologram appeared, his form shimmering blue in the air. Doctor, status report. The subject's condition is stable but unexplained. I need more time. Time is a luxury we do not have. The Galactic Council has issued a directive. The human will be transferred to Quarantine Station Sigma within 72 hours. Wu's stomach dropped. Sigma, she'd heard of it. A station at the edge of map space where they sent the dangerous ones, the crazy ones. People went there and disappeared. She's not a threat, Doctor argued. She's just. She can see the future, Doctor. Do you understand what that means? In the wrong hands, that ability could compromise security, manipulate markets, assassinate leaders before they even know their targets. She is a weapon. I'm not a weapon, Wu stood up. I'm a person, I haul cargo for a living. I don't want to hurt anyone. His compound eyes fixed on her. Intention is irrelevant. Capability is what matters. The hologram vanished. Wu sat back down, her hands shaking. 3 days. She had 3 days before they shipped her off to some prison station where she'd rot for the rest of her life. Doctor touched her shoulder gently. I'm going to keep fighting this, I promise. But Wu could hear the doubt in her voice. That evening the door opened again. Wu looked up, expecting Doctor or another security guard. Instead walked in. He had to duck to fit through the doorway. His 4 arms moved independently as he entered, and his red skin seemed darker in the artificial light. He looked at Wu for a long moment, his alien face unreadable. Champion's right gives me 1 hour with you, he said. His voice was deep, rumbling. No observers, no recordings, they cannot deny me this. Wu pressed herself against the far wall. She'd seen what those arms could do in the arena. What do you want? pulled over the room's single chair and sat. The chair looked like a toy under his massive frame. I want to understand. In 217 duels, no one has ever predicted my strikes. Not veteran warriors. Not combat masters of my own species who trained for decades. Yet you, a human who has never held a blade, called every move before my muscles even began to contract. I don't know how I did it. I believe you, leaned forward. That is why I am here to help you. Wu laughed, but it came out bitter. Help me. They're sending me to Sigma in 3 days. No one can help me. I can. His 4 hands moved in a gesture that might have been conviction. I have influence. The council respects champions. If I vouch for you, they will listen. Why would you do that? Because you are interesting. His mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. And because I am curious. I want to test your ability properly. If you can predict my movements in a private duel, a real test, not a public spectacle, then I will use every resource I have to protect you. Wu studied him, and if I can't, then you are a fraud and you belong in Sigma. It wasn't much of a choice, but it was better than nothing. Okay, Wu said, I'll do it. The next day they moved her to a practice arena. It was smaller than the grand stadium, with simple white floors and padded walls. Doctor was there, along with 2 witnesses, required by law for any champion's right challenge. One witness was a human man in a council uniform. He introduced himself as Minyu, a representative from the human coalition. He was maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a careful way of moving. I'm here as your advocate, Minyu said to Wu. If this goes wrong, I'll argue for your rights. Thank you, Wu said, though she didn't believe it would matter. The other witness was something else entirely, a floating sphere of soft light that called itself. It spoke directly into Wu's mind, which made her flinch. I am's voice said in her head, we are telepathic. I am here to verify the authenticity of any visions you experience. I will know if you are lying. Great, Wu muttered, no pressure. Entered the arena in full combat gear. He held 2 practice blades, blunted but still dangerous. The rules are simple. I will attack you. You will predict my strikes. If you can call 3 attacks correctly with specificity and timing, you pass the test. What if I can't dodge them? Wu asked. Then you will be bruised tomorrow, took his position. But alive, begin when ready. Wu stood in the center of the arena, her heart hammering. She'd never been in a fight in her life. Never trained, never practiced, never even thrown a real punch. She was going to fail. She was going to. The world shifted. That same feeling from the arena came back. Time stretched and compressed at once. She could see his muscles, his weight distribution, the way his breathing changed. And she knew. High strike, upper right blade aimed at my left shoulder. 3 seconds. She counted in her head. 1, 2, 3. Moved. His upper right arm swung, blade flashing toward her left shoulder exactly as she'd said. Wu didn't dodge, she didn't need to. She'd known it was coming. The blade stopped an inch from her shoulder. Doctor gasped. Minyu leaned forward, his eyes wide. Truth's voice said in everyone's mind. She knew before he moved. Again, said. Wu closed her eyes this time. The vision came clearer. Sweep attack, both lower blades, cross pattern at ankle height, 2 seconds. It happened exactly as she described. Again. Feint with upper left, real strike from lower right aimed at ribs, 4 seconds. Perfect, every time perfect. Stopped, he lowered his blades and stared at her. Impossible. You are not guessing. You are not reading my body. You are seeing something that has not yet occurred. I told you, Wu said. She felt dizzy, tired. Using the ability drained her somehow. I don't know how, but I can see it. Turn to the witnesses. I am satisfied. This human possesses genuine precognitive ability. I invoke my right as champion to petition the council for her protection. Minyu nodded. I'll add the Human Coalition's support to your petition. But then something happened. Wu's vision blurred. The practice arena disappeared. Instead, she saw fire, explosions, screaming. The station's corridors filled with smoke and bodies, people running, people dying. She saw a countdown timer, 7 days, 14:32:18. And she saw the cause, not an accident. Sabotage. Someone had planted explosives in the station's power core. Wu gasped and fell to her knees. Doctor rushed to her side. Wu, what's wrong? Explosion, Wu managed to say. 7 days from now, the whole station, thousands dead. Everyone went silent. Administrator's hologram appeared instantly. Explain. Wu looked up at him, still shaking. I saw it, like I saw the duel, but bigger, worse. Someone's going to destroy this station in 7 days. Preposterous, said. Our security is impenetrable. This is clearly a delusion. It's not a delusion, stepped forward. I have seen her ability. If she says there is danger, we must investigate. Based on a precognitive vision, mandibles clicked in what might have been contempt. We cannot evacuate a station of 50,000 based on one human's hallucination. Then don't evacuate, Minyu said carefully. But let us investigate, quietly. If she's wrong, no harm done. If she's right. Was silent for a long moment. You have 48 hours. If you find evidence of sabotage, I will act. If you find nothing, the human goes to Sigma as scheduled. The hologram vanished. Doctor helped Wu to her feet. Can you see anything else? Any details about the explosion? Wu closed her eyes, trying to find that vision again. But it was like trying to remember a dream after waking up. Fragments, pieces. The power core, she said. Primary systems, something about. Override codes, I don't know, it's all mixed up. Minyu pulled out his data pad. I'll start checking the power core maintenance logs. Look for any anomalies. Crossed his forearms. I will speak with my contacts in security. Someone may have heard whispers of a threat. Doctor looked at Wu. And you need to rest. These visions are taking a toll on you. But Wu shook her head. I can't rest, not when I know what's coming. Young human's voice said in her mind. I sense something else in your vision, something you did not speak aloud. Wu looked at the floating sphere of light. What? Fear, not fear of death, fear of recognition. You saw who the saboteur is, someone you have met. Wu's blood went cold, because was right. In that brief, terrible vision she had seen a face. But she didn't know whose face it was, not yet. We need to move fast, Minyu said. If there's a saboteur on this station, they're already in motion. Nodded, then we hunt. Wu stood in the center of the practice arena, surrounded by aliens and humans who were willing to believe her. For the first time since this nightmare began, she felt something other than fear. She felt purpose. She predicted the duelist strike seconds before his muscles moved. The system flagged her as nonlinear consciousness. Part 3. Wu couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw fragments of the future. Not just one future, hundreds of them. Thousands. Like watching 1,000 video screens at once, all showing different versions of the same 7 days. In one future, she walked down corridor B17 and met a maintenance worker. In another future, she never went to corridor B17 at all. In another, the maintenance worker was already dead. The visions came faster now, harder to control. Sometimes she'd blink and lose 5 minutes, her consciousness slipping sideways through time like a stone skipping on water. Doctor noticed first. You're getting worse, she said during their third meeting. They sat in a small office, reviewing the power core data. Your neural patterns are becoming unstable. The temporal displacement is spreading. I'm fine, Wu lied. You're not fine. 2 hours ago, you had a conversation with me about these reports, except that conversation hasn't happened yet. It won't happen for another 6 hours. Wu rubbed her temples. Doctor was right. She'd been having trouble telling present from future, memory from prediction. Sorry. Don't apologize, just be careful. If you push too hard, you might not find your way back. But Wu didn't have time to be careful. They had 5 days left. 5 days to find the saboteur and stop the explosion. The investigation wasn't going well. Minyu had pulled every maintenance log, every access record, every security sweep for the past 6 months. Nothing. No anomalies. No suspicious activity. Whoever was planning this, they were good. Had questioned his contacts, other fighters, security personnel, even some of the less reputable information brokers who worked the station's lower levels. Again, nothing. No whispers of a plot. No rumors of danger. It was like chasing a ghost. On the second day, Wu asked Minyu to assemble a team. If they were going to investigate properly, they needed more people. People they could trust. Minyu brought in a human engineer who'd worked on the station for 8 years. She was small, compact, with oil stains on her hands and a sharp mind. When Wu explained what she'd seen, didn't laugh or call her crazy. "Show me," said simply. Wu closed her eyes and reached for the vision. It came reluctantly this time, fragmentary. The power core, primary junction. Someone's going to override the safety systems. Plant explosives where the sensors can't detect them. Pulled up a schematic on her data pad. That's actually possible. Difficult but possible. You'd need high-level access codes and intimate knowledge of the system architecture. "How many people have that kind of access?" Minyu asked. "On this station, maybe 50. Engineers, senior security, administration. 50 suspects, better than 50,000, but still too many. Join them next." The floated into the meeting room, its light pulsing softly. "I may be able to help," it said into their minds. If the saboteur is planning violence, their thoughts will carry emotional residue. I can sense strong intent within a limited range. "How limited?" Doctor asked. 50 meters, and I must know where to look." So they had a telepath, an engineer, a warrior, a doctor, a politician, and one human who could see the future but couldn't tell which future was real. It wasn't much of a team. On the third day, Wu had a breakthrough. She was sitting in the medical bay, trying to meditate like Doctor had suggested, when a vision hit her so hard she fell out of her chair. Not the explosion this time, something else. She saw herself, but not herself, a version of herself that existed 3 hours from now. That future Wu was standing in front of a security terminal in corridor C22, watching access logs scroll past. And in those logs there was a pattern. Wu scrambled to her feet and ran. Doctor called after her, but she didn't stop. She knew where she needed to be. Corridor C22, security terminal. She arrived gasping, her hands shaking as she pulled up the access logs. There, the pattern her future self had seen. Someone had been accessing the power core systems at odd hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., times when most of the station slept. Always brief visits, always from different terminals, always using legitimate credentials. But there was a rhythm to it, every 3 days, same duration, same sequence of system checks. Reconnaissance. Someone was mapping the system, learning its vulnerabilities. Wu downloaded the data and ran back to the meeting room. Minyu and Doctor were all there, going over other leads. "Look at this," Wu said, throwing the data onto the main screen. "Someone's been studying the power core for months." His eyes widened. "These access points, they're hitting all the critical junctions, like they're building a map." "Can we trace who made these access requests?" Minyu asked. Worked her data pad. The credentials are legitimate, high-level security clearance, but they're rotated. Whoever did this used different accounts each time. "Could someone steal that many access codes?" Doctor asked. "Not easily. You'd need," trailed off, her face going pale. "You'd need administrative access to the credential system itself. The kind of access only Security Command has. They all looked at each other. Someone in Security Command is the saboteur, Minyu said quietly. Who'd been standing silently in the corner spoke up. Then we cannot trust station security. We must investigate alone. We can't investigate everyone in Security Command, Doctor said. There are too many. We don't have time. Wu felt another vision coming. She tried to push it away, but it came anyway. Stronger this time, clearer. She saw a man, human, maybe 40 years old, wearing a security uniform with lieutenant's insignia. He was standing in a storage bay placing something, small packages, wrapped in thermal shielding behind a power conduit. Explosives. And his face, Wu knew that face. The vision released her. She gasped, stumbling. Wu, Doctor caught her arm. What did you see? The saboteur, I saw him. He's human, security lieutenant. I've seen him before. Where? Minyu demanded. I don't know, I know his face. Minyu pulled up personnel files. I'm sending you images. Tell me if you recognize anyone. He flashed photos on the screen. Wu looked at each one, her heart pounding. No, maybe. No, wait. Him. The photo showed a man with a hard face and tired eyes. Lieutenant, second in command of station security, Minyu's own second in command. Minyu stared at the screen. No, not I've known him for 8 years. He saved my life twice. He wouldn't. I saw him, Wu insisted. I saw him planting the explosives. When asked. Wu tried to pull the time from the vision. 4 days from now, late at night, storage bay, 17:18, something like that. Pulsed brighter. I will observe him. If he carries intent to harm, I will sense it. But Minyu shook his head. If we're wrong about this, we'll destroy an innocent man's career. We need proof. Then we watch him, said. Follow him, see if he leads us to the explosives. They split up, and would track movements, would monitor the power core systems for any tampering. Doctor would keep Wu stable and safe. Minyu would dig into his background, looking for any signs of radicalization or unusual behavior. Wu tried to help, but the visions were coming too fast now. She couldn't tell what was real anymore. Was she in the medical bay? Or was that 3 hours from now? Had she already talked to about his findings? Or was she remembering a conversation that hadn't happened yet? Doctor gave her something to help, a mild sedative that dulled the visions slightly. Not enough to stop them, but enough to let her think. On the 4th day, Minyu found something. Requested extended leave 6 months ago, Minyu said, his voice hollow. 3 weeks. He said he was visiting family on Earth, but I checked his travel logs. He never went to Earth. Where did he go? Doctor asked. Nowhere official. His ship's transponder went dark for the entire 3 weeks. When he came back, he seemed different, quieter, more focused. He was recruited, Wu said. She knew it somehow, though she couldn't see the moment it happened. Someone got to him during those 3 weeks. Looked up from her data pad. I found something too. Small withdrawals from the power core emergency reserves. Nothing big enough to trigger alarms. But over 6 months, it adds up to enough energy to power a dozen thermal bombs. The pieces were falling into place. Returned from his surveillance. Moves with purpose. He does not idle, does not socialize. He is a man on a mission. And his thoughts, added, are carefully guarded. I have never encountered a human mind so disciplined. He is hiding something. But hiding what? And more importantly, where were the explosives? Wu closed her eyes and dove into the visions again. She searched through 1,000 possible futures, looking for the one that showed her the truth. And then she found it. Not just where the explosives were, but why was doing this, and who he was working for. She opened her eyes. It's not about destroying the station, it's about proving something. Proving what? Minyu asked. That humans are superior, that we're evolving. Working for a group called the Ascending. They believe humans are meant to transcend other species. They routed my ship through that stellar phenomenon on purpose. I was a test subject. Doctor's face went white. That means there were others, Wu finished. Other humans who went through that energy field. Most of them died. Some went insane. I'm the only one who survived with my mind intact. And the Ascending want to use you, Minyu said, understanding dawning in his eyes. They're going to cause a disaster, and you're going to stop it, proving that humans with non-linear consciousness are better than any alien technology, better than any alien ability. Wu nodded. The explosion is in 2 days. We'll plant the last device tomorrow night. Storage Bay 18. If we confront him then, we can stop this. Or, said darkly, we can confront him now. Make him tell us where he has already planted the other devices. But Wu shook her head. I tried that timeline. He won't talk. He's prepared for interrogation. The only way to find all the explosives is to catch him in the act. He'll have them with him when he goes to plant the last one. Doctor put a hand on Wu's shoulder. Are you sure? I'm sure. I've seen it 100 times, 1,000 times. In every timeline where we confront him early, people die. This is the only way. The team looked at each other. They'd come this far. They had no choice but to trust her. Tomorrow night, Minyu said, Storage Bay 18 will be ready. Wu nodded, but deep inside she was terrified. Because there was one thing she hadn't told them. In every timeline where they stopped, one person died. And that person was her. She predicted the Duelist strike seconds before his muscles moved. The system flagged her as non-linear consciousness. Part 4. Wu spent the day preparing for a death she'd already seen. It happened in dozens of different ways depending on which timeline played out. Sometimes shot her. Sometimes an explosive went off early. Sometimes the station's security systems, compromised by the Ascending, targeted her specifically. But in every timeline where they successfully stopped the bombing, she died. She tried changing it, tried staying back, sending someone else, calling for backup. Nothing worked. The timelines where she didn't die were also the timelines where thousands of others did. So she made her choice. Doctor noticed something was wrong during the afternoon medical check. Your stress markers are through the ceiling. What aren't you telling us? Wu couldn't meet her eyes. Nothing, I'm just nervous. You're lying. Doctor sat down across from her. I've been studying your patterns for days now. I know when you're seeing something you won't share. For a moment, Wu considered telling her, but what would that accomplish? Doctor would try to stop her. They all would, and then everyone would die. I'm fine, Wu said. Really? But Doctor wasn't fooled. She just squeezed Wu's hand and said, whatever you're planning, please be careful. At 8 p.m., the team gathered in a maintenance corridor near Storage Bay 18. Minyu had pulled the security footage for that bay offline, creating a blind spot. Waited by the entrance, all 4 arms ready. Floated nearby, its telepathic sense reaching out. Monitored the power systems remotely, ready to shut down any devices tried to activate. Wu stood in the center, her hands shaking. He'll arrive at 10:47 p.m., she said. He'll have 4 devices with him. Thermal explosives, shielded against sensors. He'll need approximately 8 minutes to place them in the optimal configuration. Minyu checked his weapon, a stun pistol non-lethal. And you're certain he'll be alone? Yes, the Ascending can't risk sending multiple people. Too easy to trace. At 10:30 they took their positions, hid in the shadows near the entrance. Minyu and crouched behind cargo containers, dimmed its light to near invisibility. Wu stood in plain sight, the bait in their trap. Because that was the only way this worked. Had to see her, had to make his choice. 10:47 p.m. came. The door opened. Lieutenant stepped inside carrying a nondescript equipment case. He wore civilian clothes, nothing that would identify him as security. His face was calm, almost peaceful. He saw Wu immediately. He stopped. For 3 seconds, they just looked at each other. Then smiled. I wondered if you'd figure it out. Hoped you would, actually. It makes this more meaningful. Minyu's voice came from the shadows. Put the case down, slowly. Didn't look surprised. He'd probably expected this. Minyu, old friend, I'm sorry it has to be this way. It doesn't have to be any way, Minyu said, stepping out from cover, his weapon raised. Just put down the case. We can talk. Talk, laughed, but there was no humor in it. Talk about what? About how you've spent 8 years serving aliens who see humanity as primitive. About how we crawl and beg for scraps of respect while species less capable than us make the rules. This isn't about respect, Doctor said, emerging as well. You're going to kill thousands of innocent people. Innocent? Set the case down, but his hand stayed near it. No one here is innocent. This station represents everything wrong with the galaxy. Humans with abilities like hers, he pointed at Wu, should be celebrated, elevated. Instead, they wanted to lock her away, quarantine her like she's diseased. So you what? Wu asked, her voice steady despite her fear. You created me. The Ascending routed my ship through that phenomenon. We gave you an opportunity, corrected. The phenomenon was natural, ancient. We simply found it and sent candidates through. You were the only one strong enough to survive and maintain sanity. That makes you special, important. I'm not special. I'm just a freight pilot who got unlucky. Unlucky? His eyes blazed. You can see the future. Do you understand what that means? What you could become? The Ascending can help you, train you, make you more than you ever dreamed. Moved from the shadows, his massive form blocking the exit. The human does not want your help. She wants to stop you. Glanced at him. The great champion of the arena. Tell me, do you really believe a human like her belongs in a cell? I believe she belongs wherever she chooses to be. That is freedom. Freedom, spat the word. You know nothing of human history. We've spent centuries fighting for freedom, fighting to prove ourselves. And now, when we finally have the chance to show the galaxy what we're truly capable of, cowards like you, he looked at Minyu, want us to bow down again. Minyu's hand trembled on his weapon. I trusted you. We were friends. We were, his voice softened. You were a good man, Minyu, you still are, but you're on the wrong side of history. Wu felt time fracturing around her, multiple futures branching, splitting, recombining. She saw reaching for something in his jacket, saw Minyu's finger tightening on the trigger, saw lunging forward. Wait, she said, before this happens, I need to know why me, why did you choose my ship? Smiled, we didn't. We sent 70 ships through over 2 years. Most candidates died. A few survived but went mad. You were pure chance, Wu, random luck, but that's what makes you perfect. You're proof that humanity's evolution isn't engineered, it's natural, inevitable. And the bombing. Theater spread his hands. The Ascending will warn Administrator about the devices in 3 hours. Just enough time to evacuate most people, not enough to stop the explosion. The station will be crippled. Chaos will reign. And then you, the only person who truly saw it coming, will be vindicated, proven right, proven valuable. People will still die, Doctor said. The evacuation won't save everyone. Acceptable losses, his face hardened. Progress requires sacrifice. No, Wu said. Murder requires sacrifice. Progress requires work. Reached into his jacket, Minyu shouted. Everything happened at once. The stun bolt caught in the shoulder, but he'd been expecting it. His clothes had shielding. The charge dissipated harmlessly. His hand came out holding a trigger device. I've already set the timer. If I press this, all 4 devices detonate immediately. If I don't press it, they detonate in 30 seconds. Either way, this bay and everyone in it turns to ash. Froze mid-charge. Minyu's weapon stayed pointed at its head. No one moved. There's a third option, continued. Wu comes with me right now. We leave together. I disable the bombs remotely. Everyone lives. She joins the ascending, becomes what she's meant to be. Don't do it, Doctor said immediately. He's lying. But Wu shook her head. He's not, I can see it. If I go with him, he really will disable the bombs. His voice entered all their minds. The human speaks truth. His intent is genuine. He will spare the station if she complies. But after that, Minyu asked, what happens to her? Wu knew she'd seen that timeline too. The ascending would study her, experiment on her, push her abilities until her mind shattered. She'd become their weapon, their proof, their symbol. Or she'd die trying to escape. It doesn't matter, Wu said. I'm not going. His face twisted. Then you're a fool, you'll die here for nothing. Not for nothing, Wu stepped forward. I'll die knowing I chose to be human, not a symbol, not a weapon, just human. She closed her eyes and dove into the timelines one last time, searching, sorting, looking for the one thread, the one possibility they'd all missed. And then she found it. There, a hairline fracture in fate, a moment where her eyes snapped open. The power conduit above us, can you overload it? His voice came through the calm. Yes, but it would cause a massive electromagnetic pulse. It would fry every electronic device in this bay. Including the trigger, Wu said. Including all our equipment, Minyu countered. We'd be blind, and the bombs would still have 30 seconds on their timer. 28 seconds now, said calmly. Tick. Wu looked at, how fast can you move? The warrior understood immediately. Fast, but not fast enough to disarm 4 devices in 28 seconds. You don't have to disarm them. Wu pointed at his equipment case. He brought them in shielded containers. Thermal explosives are safe in their cases. You just have to put them back. That's actually possible, said, but I'd need to see the devices to know where they are. I can see them. Wu closed her eyes. The future showed her. 2 behind the power coupling left wall, 1 under the coolant tank, 1 in the ventilation shaft overhead. 14 seconds, said. His finger hovered over the trigger. Last chance, Wu. Come with me or we all die. Wu looked at her team, at Doctor who'd believed in her, at Minyu who'd fought for her, at who'd challenged her, at who'd her truth, at who'd helped her understand. They'd become her family in 5 days. More than family, her purpose. Wu said, hit it. The conduit exploded with light. The electromagnetic pulse washed over them like a wave. Every screen went dark. Every device died, including's trigger. 10 seconds, Wu whispered, though she had no way to know for sure. Now. The warrior moved like lightning. 4 arms became blurs. He grabbed the first device from behind the power coupling, slammed it into the shielded case. Second device from under the tank. Third from the ventilation shaft. But the fourth. There's no fourth device here, roared. Wu's heart stopped. She'd been wrong, she'd seen wrong, she'd. No, wait. She dove into the timelines one more time, saw the truth, saw what had actually done. It's in his jacket pocket, she said. He kept one with him, backup plan. Spun toward, but the lieutenant was already moving. His hand went to his pocket, pulling out the 4th device. Not to disarm it, to throw it. Right at Wu. Time seemed to stop. She saw the device tumbling through the air, saw the timer counting down, 3 seconds, 2, 1. And then was there, moving faster than anything that large should move. He caught the device in midair and slammed it into the case with the others, sealed the thermal shielding. The explosion came, but contained, dampened, reduced to a dull thump inside the reinforced case. The case glowed red-hot but held. Everyone breathed again. Stood in the center of the bay, his hands empty, his expression blank. You should have died, he said to Wu. I saw it, planned it. You were supposed to die. I know, Wu said. I saw it too, but humans are good at changing the future. Minyu moved forward and placed restraints on his wrists. His old friend didn't resist. It's done, Wu said to the team. But there's still one more thing we need to do. She predicted the duelist strike seconds before his muscles moved. The system flagged her as nonlinear consciousness. Part 5. The interrogation room was cold and gray. Sat on one side of the table, hands still in restraints. On the other side sat Minu, his face carved from stone. Administrator's hologram flickered in the corner, watching silently. Wu stood behind the one-way glass with Doctor and watching the questioning. The Ascending has 37 confirmed members, said calmly, operating on 12 different stations and colonies. We've been preparing for this for 5 years. You've stopped one attack. There will be others. Minu's jaw clenched. Give us names, locations. Why would I do that? Because maybe it'll help you sleep at night. Maybe it'll mean you're not completely lost. Laughed. I sleep fine, Minu. My conscience is clear. I was trying to save humanity. You were trying to murder people. I was trying to wake people up, leaned forward, and I still might have succeeded, because Wu proved exactly what I wanted to prove. Humans can see the future. Humans can transcend biology. We are evolving beyond the limitations that hold other species back. Doctor's hand tightened on the glass. He's not entirely wrong, she said quietly. Wu's ability is unprecedented. Her neural patterns are still changing, adapting. In another year, she might be able to see months into the future instead of days. Is that what you want? Asked Wu. To become more powerful. Wu didn't answer. She couldn't, because she didn't know what she wanted anymore. The interrogation continued for 3 hours. Gave them nothing useful. No names, no locations, just philosophy and justifications. Finally, Administrator ordered him taken to a holding cell to await trial. As security led him away, looked back at the glass. At Wu, though he couldn't see her. You could have been magnificent, he said. You still could be. Then he was gone. The next day, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Wu was summoned to testify. She stood in the great chamber, surrounded by representatives from 100 worlds, and told them everything. The phenomenon, the visions, the bombing that almost was. When she finished, the chamber erupted in debate. Some wanted her detained permanently. Too dangerous, they said, unpredictable. Others wanted to study her. Unprecedented opportunity, they argued. We could learn so much. A few wanted to exploit her. Military applications, they suggested. Strategic advantage. Wu stood in the center and let them argue about her future like she wasn't even there. Like she was an object, not a person. Finally stood. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. You debate what to do with this human as if she has no choice in the matter, as if her ability makes her your property. This is not justice. This is slavery. She is a threat, Administrator said. She saved 50,000 lives, 4 arms spread wide. Where I come from, that makes her a hero, not a prisoner. Minu stood as well. The human coalition supports champion's position. Wu has committed no crime. She deserves freedom. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, a compromise was reached. Wu would be registered as the galaxy's first officially recognized non-linear consciousness. She would undergo regular medical monitoring. She would be prohibited from certain sensitive areas and positions, but she would be free. Free to go, free to choose, free to be human. When the session ended, Wu walked out of the chamber and found Doctor waiting for her. They're creating a new research division, Doctor said. To study the phenomenon and help others like you who might emerge. I've been asked to head it. She paused. I'd like you to be part of it, not as a test subject, as a colleague. I don't know anything about research, Wu said. You know more about non-linear consciousness than anyone alive. That's worth more than any degree. Wu thought about it, a life of research, of studying her own strange mind, of helping others who might go through what she'd gone through. It sounded important, meaningful. It also sounded terrifying. I need time to think, Wu said. Doctor smiled. Take all the time you need. Over the next week, various offers came in. The military wanted to hire her as a tactical consultant. A wealthy collector wanted to fund her research in exchange for exclusive rights to her discoveries. A news network wanted to do a documentary series about her life. Wu turned them all down. Found her in the observation deck 3 days before she was scheduled to leave the station. She stood at the window, watching ships come and go. "You are troubled," the warrior said. "I'm confused," Wu admitted. "Everyone wants something from me. Everyone has plans for what I should do, what I should become, but no one asks what I want." "Then I will ask, what do you want, Wu?" She was quiet for a long time. "I want to go home, back to my ship, back to hauling freight, back to the life I had before all of this." "You cannot return to what was. You are changed." "I know, but I can return to who I was, just a pilot, just a person." His alien face was unreadable. "That is very human of you." "Is it?" "To possess great power and choose simplicity, to see infinity and choose the present moment, yes, very human." He turned to leave, then paused. "The galaxy will call you hero or weapon or miracle, but you know what you truly are. Do not let them tell you differently." After he left, Wu stood at the window for another hour. She reached out with her ability, searching through possible futures. She saw herself in a research lab helping others. She saw herself in a military command center preventing wars. She saw herself famous, important, influential. And she saw herself in a freight ship, alone in the dark, hauling cargo from one world to another. Simple work, honest work. She knew which future she wanted. The next day she went to see administrator. "I'm taking my ship and leaving," she told him. "I'll check in for medical monitoring like we agreed, but otherwise I want my old life back." His mandibles clicked. "You would waste your abilities on menial labor." "I don't see it as waste, I see it as choice. The council granted you freedom, but they expected you to contribute, to serve the greater good." "I will serve," Wu said, "by proving that people with abilities like mine don't have to be weapons or tools. We can just be people." Was silent for a moment. Then his hologram flickered in what might have been a shrug. "Very well. Your ship is in Dock 17. It has been refueled and supplied." Wu thanked him and headed for the docks. Doctor caught her before she reached her ship. "You're really going?" "I am." "You could do so much good here, help so many people." "I know, but if I stay, I'll lose myself. I'll become what everyone wants me to be instead of who I am." Wu looked at her friend. "You understand, don't you?" Doctor's eyes were wet. "I do, I just wish." She trailed off, then pulled Wu into a hug. "Stay safe, come back and visit." "I will." Minyu was waiting by the ship. He handed her a data pad. "Encrypted comm channel, direct line to me. If the Ascending makes another move, if you see anything, call me immediately." "I will." "And Wu, thank you for everything." They shook hands. Then Wu climbed the ramp into her ship. It was exactly as she'd left it 7 weeks ago. Small, cramped. The captain's chair had a stain from where she'd spilled coffee 2 months back. The nav computer was 3 generations out of date. The life support made a clicking noise that no mechanic could ever quite fix. It was perfect. Wu sat in the captain's chair and powered up the systems. The engine hummed to life. The displays flickered on. She ran through the pre-flight checklist by muscle memory. "Freight Transport Delta 7, you are cleared for departure," the station's traffic control said. "Safe travels." "Thanks," Wu said. "It's good to be flying again." She pulled away from the dock and pointed her ship toward the jump gate. In a few hours she'd be in hyperspace. In a few days she'd be at her first delivery. Back to the routine. Back to the work. As she approached the jump gate, her comm chirped. A text message from Doctor. "One last question. With everything you can see, all the possible futures, how do you choose which path to take?" Wu smiled and typed her reply. I close my eyes and listen to what feels right, same way everyone else does. She hit send and cut the comm. The jump gate loomed ahead, a swirling circle of light and energy. Wu's hand hovered over the jump control. For just a moment, she let her ability activate, let herself see the future. 1,000 paths spread out before her, thousands of possible lives. In one she became famous, in another she changed the galaxy, in another she found love, in another she found peace, in still others she found pain, loss, triumph, despair. Every future was possible, every choice was valid. But only one path felt like home. Wu closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and engaged the jump drive. The ship leaped into hyperspace. Reality bent and twisted around her, and for a few seconds, Wu existed everywhere and nowhere at once. Past, present, and future blurred together. She saw her birth and her death. She saw every choice she'd ever made and every choice she never would. She saw the entire arc of her existence laid out like a map. And then she let it all go. She came back to the present moment, to the ship, to the stars, to the simple act of flying forward one jump at a time. The non-linear consciousness that had almost destroyed her, that had almost trapped her, that had almost defined her, it was still there, still part of her, but it didn't control her anymore. She'd learned something that, and the Ascending had never understood, something that made humans special, though not superior. Humans could see infinity and still choose to move forward, could perceive all possibilities and still make a choice, could experience time as non-linear and still insist on living it one moment at a time. Not because they were more powerful than other species, but because they were more stubborn. 3 weeks later, Wu delivered her first cargo, medical supplies to a mining colony on the edge of nowhere. The colony chief signed for the delivery and thanked her. "Just doing my job," Wu said. "Still, we appreciate it. Some pilots won't come out this far." Wu smiled. "I don't mind the distance, gives me time to think." She flew away from the colony and set course for her next delivery. The route would take her through familiar space, systems she'd flown 100 times before, nothing special, nothing exciting. Just work, just life, just the future unfolding one day at a time. And that was exactly what she wanted. Somewhere in the back of her mind, Wu could still sense the branching possibilities, could still see the 1,000 futures spreading out from every choice, but she didn't focus on them anymore, didn't let them overwhelm her. She chose instead to focus on the present, on the hum of the engine, on the stars outside her window, on the coffee brewing in the galley, on the simple satisfaction of a job well done. The galaxy would keep turning. The Ascending would eventually be caught. Doctor would make breakthroughs in her research, would win more duels. Minyu would protect more people. And Wu would haul freight. It wasn't glorious, it wasn't heroic, but it was hers. Years later, when historians wrote about the station bombing that almost was, they would call Wu many things. Hero, precognitive, the first non-linear consciousness, a miracle, a warning, a beginning. But if anyone had asked Wu what she wanted to be called, she would have said something simple. Pilot. Just a pilot, flying through the dark heading home. In every timeline, across every possibility, that's what she chose to be. And in the end, that choice, more than any vision, more than any ability, more than any destiny, was what made her human. The ship hummed onward through space. Wu leaned back in her chair, closed her eyes, and smiled. The future could wait. Right now, she was exactly where she wanted to be.